I muted myself.
12 meters,
There we
which
go.
is 6 squares, I believe.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing today?
Good. Good. How are you,
Oh,
Scott?
oh, because you turned off your camera. I was like, why did everything get all screwed up? It's because you turned off your camera and turned it back on. It's fixed now. All right, cool. How am I doing? I am doing excelente. So, excited to finally get this new campaign started. We did so much work about getting this campaign in place back in July, I want to say it was. Because I remember like the entire time I was on vacation in Maine, I was like messaging you guys and learning a whole new way to do things on Roll20 and so on and so forth. And Brittany's like, why are you on your laptop all the time? I thought you weren't working up here. I was like, well, I have that new campaign. And she's like, oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. And then all of a sudden, July's over, August, September.
Yeah, we did so much work, and then there was just nothing, and then we're like, oh crap, we need to finish.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot everything about the actual system itself. So yeah, I'm just hopefully I roll low in initiative, and then I can see what you guys are doing.
It's
what's funny?
It's 5e. It's very like,
but he's the only one here with like no experience in 5e, right? Like everybody else is like, oh, I know what 5e is. That's not a big deal. I just, I'm shooting a gun instead of swinging a sword.
Oh no, I didn't realize that. That does make things more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but 5e is so simple. I mean, he plays a more complicated game.
It really is.
Yeah. So, and Tesh, you have the clarity of having played both now for countless hours. So
yes, I play both regularly.
Yep, exactly. So, and it allows you to be like, yeah, okay, 5e, like you can. Oh, you rolled a d20. Good job. That's it. You're done. So, what I really like about the system, which it's Mass Effect 5e was made by let's see, let me just pull up like the chart here for everybody. So this is I'm gonna pop this into chat, and I should probably make a trigger through the bot for people to have access to it. But here's where the rules are going to be for it, where like the PHB is. So if you open that up, and then in the top left-hand corner, that link I just sent, top left-hand corner, there's gonna be a hamburger menu.
That
and
website
kind of, like,
is
roll
genuinely amazing. Like,
it's written well.
It's in some ways made better than Roll20.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's also simple though.
Like,
it's also simple because
it's
like,
less to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my favorite thing about it is the fact that once you create a character, you literally have a breakdown of what you can do for every action, bonus action, reaction on a turn. You can just select, oh, I have a bonus action for you. What can I do? Click bonus action. It's got a list of bonus actions. Really good.
Yeah, they did a really good job. And like I was saying to these guys on our call last week, one of my favorite things is that most of the time in tabletop games, representing firearms is done so poorly. Because like guns on one hand are exceedingly dangerous, and on the other hand are very survivable, right? Like, so it always feels like the representation of guns in most TTRPGs is either these things are like in the movies where you shoot somebody once, they go flying backwards 3 feet and die. Or it's more like, you get shot 15 times and you're like, oh, what? What's that? I keep going. The way that guns are handled, specifically because this is Mass Effect, in my opinion, works very well, as long as you're playing a character wearing armor. Because like these aren't just like bullets being fired off of a projectile launched from igniting some powder, pressurized into a tiny little, capsule, right? Like these are things that are being sped up using mag technology, so magnetic technology, and then also on their way out have they're more than just railguns. They also, the way it works is, at least originally, they ended up changing it a little bit in Mass Effect 2 and 3, but in the original version, the heat sink version of them is more or less you would grab a block of metal. Imagine like something like this.
Yeah,
it's
and
like a block of metal. Yeah, it does like tiny little shaves, and as it shoots it, it just gains mass as it goes. So, but then later on, they actually put the
heatsink system.
So funny enough, Tesh, a deeper dive into it further, the heatsink system does the same technology. It takes like a shave off of a block. So technically you do still have to reload the blocks. It's just there's thousands of rounds in the block, so you don't worry. It's not even something that you track.
Yeah.
The heatsink system is that literally as you're shooting the gun, instead of the weapon itself overheating, it just ejects a heatsink and you just pop a new heat sink in there so the weapon doesn't overheat. Just
I
that
liked
thing,
that
right?
they made a lore reason for why it was different from 1 and 2.
I mean, the
The real
'cause
reason is
2
gameplay.
Yeah, because you wanted to have that, like.
So yeah, the first game just had you'd overheat and wait for it to cool down, which always took ages.
It was just also annoying to listen to.
It
So
really was.
yeah, I would have been fine if they kept a mixed format. Like some guns still had the heatsink, which they kind of did with like I think one Geth weapon. Hold on one second.
Yeah, I think so. But I did appreciate that they didn't just like have it change and not mention it in the world. They were like, oh yeah, heat sinks are a thing now.
Yeah. So they just because it was quicker reload times, that whole thing. And if I am mistaken, and I very well may be, it could have also been because humans had been using like projectile technology that they had been, and they could have been inspired by their methods. So I
think
imagine
there was something about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine other races had used, because like one of the reasons why the Krogan homeworld is the way it is because they set they had a nuclear war, like, so I imagine others had that kind of technology. Maybe it was just so far in the past that, anyways, you know how it is. Sometimes the best new idea is an old idea, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of a Mass Effect campaign, right? So, just to go over a couple of rules real quick, because obviously chat is going to be new to this system, if you will, even though you know 5e. More or less imagine 5e. It's just they got guns. Guns work like the way you imagine they do. They point, they have range, they aim, they shoot. It's very, very, very simple. Each gun has its own amount of ammunition before it has to have its heatsink reloaded, and so on. They have grenades, they can use them to throw, and their grenades do a myriad of different things. If you were doing a typical campaign of just like random adventure types, they'd probably have to like find what they could find at some sort of shop or black market stealer to get their hands on grenades. But this is a military campaign, and so they are able to brain's not working. They're able to kind of like acquire whatever they need within small boundaries from the Taurian hierarchy. And then they also have metagel and a small amount of omnigel. And then one of the characters happens to be an engineer, which can break down certain things into more omnigel if they need it as they go. I think Jake's character even has the ability to turn omnigel into grenades as needed on hand. So that kind of like works out for him too. Everybody has an Omni tool. Their Omni tools have built into it a myriad of different things. The ability to slice into systems is going to be pretty mundane into Omni tools, but having like the skills to slice in or hack into systems is going to be like some extra programs that you would have designed in advance. But everybody knows, of course, the Omni blade. There are different ways to approach that. Correct me if I'm wrong. All of your characters have Omni blades or a variation of it on your character.
A variation
correct?
of, yeah.
Yeah. Because I think
Omni Taser.
Yeah, because Cell originally was going to play, but his melee weapon wasn't an Omni blade. He was actually going to go with a monomolecular blade, right? But none of you guys did that.
No.
Cool. That means that all of their characters are wearing these like heavy mass effect reducing armors, right? So their armors aren't just like, I put metal on. It's like these smart suits that have many different layers to them and tons of computing technology inside of it. Their smart suits do crazy things, like they have holdout points or hard points on the armor that they can distribute their weapons on, and the armor itself actually distributes the weight of those weapons in such a way that it doesn't impact the character's movement. So it doesn't matter if, let's say, Anno's playing a character with an 8 strength and Jake's playing a character with this 18 strength. Both of them should have their armor should be able to hold weapons that are realistically fairly heavy without them feeling it as they're moving with their suits. I think Jake's armor can hold extra weapons, which we'll get into.
Has a requirement, and I think that's it.
Yeah,
I think the armor itself has the requirement.
Yep, exactly. And then so we get the basic idea of that. Then to get into the more niche technologies for the system, all of their armors have the baseline shields built into them. So shields come with 2 rules attached to them: maximum shields and recharge rate. Maximum shields are like the highest shield that you can get to. Imagine say 20 or 30, though all of them are at 5. And the recharge rate is how much it can recharge every round that you have been removed from danger. Imagine taking cover or whatever it is. So all of them have a maximum of 5 and a recharge of 5. So in 1 round it recharges for them. And then there's triggering events that allows the recharge to happen. That's all written into the rules. You 3 PCs, did you look those over again after our last chat like I had suggested? If not, I believe it's under the combats.
A chunk of it, but not all of it.
Yep, it's just the triggering events. So let's just go over that super quick before we kind of dive into it, because we had mentioned that beforehand. I think it's under equipment. It might be under equipment armor. Nope, it's under rules and combat. Just pulling this up real quick.
You mean incinerate and stuff like you mean priming, or what do you mean?
Nope. I mean for recharging your shields.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
need to not be in combat. You need to not take damage for a full round, and then it starts recovering, right?
Correct. Yeah, you have to have. Here we go. In combat, to attempt to regenerate your shields during combat, you must attempt to remove yourself from the chaos, meeting one of the following requirements on your turn: take the hide action, take the dodge action, take the disengage action, or have full cover from all hostile creatures at the end of your turn. Then, if you take no damage until the start of your next turn, your shields will regenerate. Will begin to regenerate, and you gain shield points equal to your armor's regen stat. And then
so
for
you do
every
need
round,
to take cover. You can't just be like not attacked for a turn.
correct. You have to do one of those 4 actions, and then every round, even if you're outside, even if you're in harm's way from that point on, as long as nobody hits you, if they miss you when they attack you, you'll continue to regen shields. Yeah, which isn't that big of a deal because all of your characters only have a max of 5 anyways. All right, cool. That is the end of that whole bit. The last thing I want to go over with combat, and then we're pretty much done talking about these kind of rules, is what Ano just brought up, which is priming and destinations. So in the system, one of the cool things that they did is they allow for little bits of teamwork abilities to help each other in combat. It's really well thought out. It's just unfortunately not very common at low levels. Higher levels, you can see this happening way more often, or bigger crews, you can see it happening more often.
We've got a couple, but yeah.
But
It's not going to happen a lot of the combats. It's going to happen when we see a big enemy, maybe, but it's not going to happen most of the time.
It also can happen to you. So there are
I didn't think of that.
there are 5 different types of primes: cold, fire, force, lightning, and necrotic primes. Once a prime is put on you, which happens for a myriad of reasons, for instance, Tesh's character has a way of electrocuting characters and it primes them for electricity, right? It's like it's overload. Yeah, right. Which if you play the games, you know what that is. Then at any point in time, whenever a prime is on somebody, whether it be 1 or more, somebody else can use a triggering ability. Jake has, I think, like 2 or 3 triggering effects. Once you hit somebody who's been primed, it makes the prime go off. Just to give you an example of what these look like, I'm going to detonate a couple of ones here. I think I missed the word force. Cold, fire, force, lightning, yeah. So no, I didn't. That's all of them. And necrotic. And then let's look over what these do real quick. But we don't need to knuckle into this. I'm sorry?
What's necrotic? I mean, like in the Mass Effect, what's necrotic in this? Is it just like a...
Just more like something deteriorate. Imagine like hitting like rust onto a metallic object.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Or like, yeah, like a super escalated disease or whatever it is. So you have cold, fire, force, lightning, and necrotic. They do damage as well as some sort of secondary effect, right? Sometimes the secondary effect is the damage, like fire. All right, cool. We get the basic idea. Beyond that, there are ships. We're going to go over what their ship is and kind of jump into this campaign in a second. When you're dealing with ships, there are going to be 5 systems in question. Helm, which is flying the ship, like flying around and maneuvering. Navigation, which is like, I want to go from A to B. How do I get there? That's, of course, going to be important when using mass relays, but also like jumping between stars or even flying between planets or even planetary, blah, 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 Then there's weapons, which is like the big combat loadout. There's EWS, which is, I believe, your defensive measures. I have to load that back up unless Anno can answer that for me quickly.
No.
Yeah, that's all right. You're good. I was asking you because you know it's electronic warfare suite. The ship's electronic warfare. Oh, that's right. No. This is like for slicing into and counter slicing.
Yeah.
Prevents vehicles hacking attempts, but also allows the crew to attempt to hack other ships. Players may be blah, 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 that sort of a thing. And then lastly, there is the SSC, which is sensors, scanners, and communications. So that's going to be like your communications officer sort of a bit. So those are the 5 different things. And then from there, you also just have like proficiency in flying the ship around fairly well in space, land, and water. Those are the 3 different zones. From there, I think that covers all the rules and like the changes and important things like for viewers to understand like how we have these different skills. Everything else, you're going to pick it up as we go. And we kind of want to get into the story. I want to throw it to you 3 PCs if there's anything else that you care to bring up. Tesh has brought up a couple along the way. Anything care to bring up or any last second questions prior to us like diving in?
Yeah, quick question. Because I forgot to roll my hit points. But were we supposed to have 35? Because otherwise, how does Tesh and Jake have 35 hit points at level 3?
I gave you guys a standardized amount. What did I give you?
I mean,
what
I
did I
assume
give you?
35, I assume.
No. It's probably because of what they're. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Ours is D10, yeah.
Yeah, so let's see how the math worked out. Because I said for characters walking in, you're going to get X. But then after that, you have to roll for it.
Okay.
And that was just because the game was so new. The rules are so new to us. I didn't want to have a chance of like you just auto dying. Tesh and Jake, can you tell me what your Constitution score is, please?
3.
Jake?
Also 3. So 16.
That makes sense why we've got the same then.
Okay, so maximum at your level would be 36, right? 13, 36 is 1 lower than max. What is your class and what is your Constitution, Anno?
I mean, I'm an engineer, so a
Which is
D8,
D8.
and
Yep.
Constitution 0.
So 3 times 8 is 32. So then running with the same idea, let's put you at 30 health points. And for like an even 5 off number, because it just works simply. Oh, there's one more rule thing I wanted to go over super fast, but we'll cover that. So that's a really good question and very pertinent to your character.
Wait, 3 times 8 is not 32.
Yeah.
No, 24.
Like a
24.
Was like,
sorry, 24.
Hang on.
24. 24. I don't be math good hard. 24.
Like, it was funny because like I just accepted it, and then my brain just like went ding. Hang on a second.
It's 4 times 8. That's 4 times 8. Sorry.
Yes, that's 4 times.
My apologies. Where the hell is? Things are just kind of like moving around. Oh, there it is. Okay. So sorry. 24. So then there is no way to give you a simply rounded number. Let's leave you out 1 under. Let's give you 23. Okay.
How much? Sorry, did you repeat?
23 total out of 24.
So we're all 1 under the max possible hit.
Correct.
Points we
Okay.
You should have had a 12 Constitution. Oh no, could have given you 25.
No, I would have had. I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Either way, so so you
By
have
the way,
23.
Scott,
They have 35. Yes.
Maybe something you should say, but do you want to explain to chat why we have a 4th portrait?
Oh.
That's because you have an NPC that's going with you. Actually, technically 2 NPCs going with you.
No.
That is the reason.
real reason.
That is the only reason.
The real reason, Scott.
Okay, fine. So I have a Mass Effect overlay from years ago. Some of you might remember it. That is for 3-person and for 4. And I was tired one night while setting up the overlay, and it took me about 4.5 hours, or 3.5, whatever it was, 3.5 to 4 hours, whatever it was, to properly scrub the old overlay and set it up for the new one. However, we're talking like hours into, about 3 or so into doing it, I took a step back and looked at my work, and I was like, this is going pretty well. This is going pretty. This is a 4-person overlay. I was like, oh shit. How do I handle this? Well, they need an extra crew member. It makes sense that the crew member would be Quarian, which is why I was going to allow Cell to be a Quarian character when he was originally going to be a part of this. I have a Quarian artwork. A plus B equals C. This is meant to happen. Jesus told me to do this. So, yeah. Yeah, this overlay, by the way, not the words written on it. Obviously, I had to scrub it and then put it back together. It was originally made by Ollie. That's twitch.tv/Ollie Rant. If you like his artwork, I believe he's still commissionable. I just know he gets very busy. I did lots of artwork through Ollie from this channel. All of the artwork originally was from him. I have a bunch of overlays still around. Sorry, not overlays. Emotes still around from him. And I even used him up into the Witcher campaign over there. The only reason why I stopped using him was because it was a little bit longer. Like I would ask for a bit of artwork and then it would take like a long time to get it back. And it's like when you're a streamer, you can't have that kind of gap of time between A and B. But his quality of art is still the best artist I've ever commissioned. And I've commissioned over a dozen at this point. So I love his art style. But definitely go check it out. So, anyways, yeah, cool. So, Anno. Back to game. The last rule I wanted to go over, and this is
Listen,
like it for the boring opening part. Go ahead.
Listen, I just want people to be informed.
You know, I put effort into it. I made sure I got like her a backdrop, like she's like she has like a green screen going on, and the backdrop specifically has like a chair, so she's like stays in the ship when you guys get out of it. And I propped her so it looks like she's polishing her gun while sitting in the chair. I showed it to Brittany. She's like, actually, it looks pretty good. And I was like, I know, right?
I'm just hearing excuses, honestly, but
no, it's great.
Scott, I have one quick question.
Shoot, yeah, please. Now's the time.
My biotic barrier has like a pip system where I use pips to do stuff or negate damage.
Yes.
I have a biotic cantrip, so just something I can do whenever. This that also regenerates a pip. It regenerates 2 ticks, but it doesn't say I have to hit a target for it to work. Can I just punch something?
I
take
imagine
an action to get 2 pips back, but
I imagine it's meant to be part of like the interactions with another, right? It's not meant to be spammable to break, right? So because like that's like saying, oh, my fighter ran out of
I know, that's why I was asking, because I was like, interesting.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
when I was going over the abilities, I was just like, this is abusable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you can imagine, because this is made by a third party, not by an actual company that has editors and so on and so forth. It was community built with a primary writer and a much thanks given to a bunch of other people. There are going to be mistakes. Hell, there's mistakes in huge companies as well. So there's going to be mistakes.
Yeah.
So definitely something that if you want to hit up who the author is and bring it to their attention, they might clarify and say, no, that's perfectly fine. Or they might say, oh, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Or they might say, I don't like criticism. Go fuck yourself. You know? So
we'll see.
Yeah.
Can I just point out that for me, it's like almost 1 p.m., right?
Yep.
And you probably noticed, but I'm trying to fight against my window so that the stream is not blinded by the light.
Who used to do that?
Probably
Neil. I'm listening. Yeah, I think with Neil used to have to deal with that. But
Neil definitely had issues.
Yeah, because I don't want to be in darkness at 1 p.m. but I also don't want to stream blind the people on the stream. Yeah, should work now.
I want to say it was Neil used to have to fight with his thing. I did with my old office at the other place a little bit, but that was just more or less like coming in on my face. That could be taken out of context.
Give me a second.
Do you want to actually? That's a good point. Do you want to mention the time that this is taking place?
I'm going to that right after one last boring bit here. So, if you're familiar with the healing stuff, help me out here. Metagel. Metagel works just like potions in 5e. There's advanced versions of Metagel which can be accessed XYZ, but you guys have basic Metagel that goes on for the most part. So what was it saying? Hi, Oxymoron. So what was it saying? Metagel works like potions in 5e, very simple. I believe all of your armors, the smart suits, have 4 Metagels built into the armors. None of you guys have advancements that allow you to carry more.
Yes, that's the thing that you told us last time that I liked the idea of. It's they use whenever you go to heal someone with Metagel, you don't use your Metagel to heal them. You activate their Metagel in their suit.
Yes. So if Jake's character is injured and he wants to heal himself, he will activate one of the Metagels in his suit to heal him. If Jake's character is injured,
as an action to trigger someone else's and bonus action to do yours, or is it like?
Why don't you look that one up real quick?
Okay.
While I finish explaining it and hopefully get the answer really quick. And then if Jake's character is like injured or down and Anno wants to heal him, Anno's character would go over and activate one of the Metagels in Jake's suit, not one of his own Metagels. Now, there are other ways to...
Or I just use one of my various other methods to heal him.
Well, I was going to say, and then there are different ways to impact how way Metagel works. Like Tesha's character, Anno's character have ways to make Metagel work more efficiently. But you're not squirting your own juice on somebody else. You just make their own juice squirt inside them, just with different efficiencies, so on and so forth. And then out of combat... I was establishing out of combat, you guys can transfer your juices between one another. All you have to do is make your suits dock. And it takes about a minute. And then you guys can...
You're a filthy man, Scott. You're a filthy man.
But you can transfer Metagels between one another. It just takes about a minute of time. That way it's not something that's done easily in combat, but can be done relatively easy outside of combat. Cool. There was one last ruling I was hoping to look up real quick, and then we'll go over the timing. Gravity.
So going back to that, if it's annoying or something, the light behind me, I'll try to fix it. Just like, I don't
know. You'll be more aware of it than we are. Because people.
I mean, it's not my. I mean, it's not a big problem for me. The light is behind me. You have to look at it.
Yeah. You think I'm gonna be looking at you, bro? All right, so there's nothing specific here. So one of the things I told all the characters to do is I asked them to choose what world they came from, because that impacts what is normal gravity for them. Because that will matter as they go from world to world with different missions. So that was just kind of a fun fact. And we'll kind of get into that as we actually play the game. So last detail that Tesh just asked me, and I think we can get into it from here unless anybody else has anything to bring up. When does this take place? Somebody was like, please don't tell me this is the first contact war incident. And the answer is no, it is not the first contact war incident. But speaking of when this takes place, this is going to be taking place in March of 2157. So this is the tail end of March, the Ides of March, if you will. What's the middle? But the tail end of March of 2157, which is the year the first contact war takes place, but that war actually starts on the 4th of April that year. So the interactions with one another would have happened in March, I believe, and then the actual like full out skirmishes and the sieging of the Terran world and so on and so forth, that would be in April. And the first contact war goes from the 4th of April to the 18th of July. So April, May, June, July. It's not that long. It's pretty quick. It's just, but so the reason why this is pertinent is because these characters, which are removed from those events, depending on how long their mission takes, will either come back in time to hear about what's going on, come back in time to join in what's going on, or come back in time and be like, what the hell just happened? You know what I mean? So that's going to be a fun little bit. All right, I'm going to throw it to the PCs.
It looks like it's an action. So it's an action to use Metagel in general. So that's
5e's core rules. That's normal 5e rules. Yeah.
I know, yeah.
I think you play in a campaign right now that allows you to do it as a bonus action.
Every campaign I have played in has done it that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I think the one you do with either Will or Josiah or whoever it is, they allow you to drink one as a bonus or give
Will,
it as a
Josiah, and
standard.
all the other DMs I've had that have done it.
Yeah, and then me with Pathfinder. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't
correct
think
me
I've
if
played 5e with you actually.
No.
No, I haven't.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we ever decided what our rank structure is.
Yeah, that's because the Taurian rank structure is so
Fluid.
complicated. We
Yeah.
touched on it very briefly when we were
Yeah, I
talking
know.
last week, and we were saying something like,
We
Jake's
decided
character is
who
like a
our
9.
Commander. Yeah, we decided who our commander is, and we're like, and that's, I think, about it. We're just going to treat it as he's our superior officer, but in the Turian military, it's pretty like you don't disrespect your superior officer, but also like if you have an idea, it's going to be taken seriously, sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I suppose I'll touch on that briefly since you brought it up, Anno. A little bit of backstory with the Taurian hierarchy. I don't want to bore you with the too many details to chat, but in short, the entire Taurian society is built around what's called the Taurian hierarchy, or their government. Their government is very, 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 very militaristic. Their government has, their hierarchy has 27 ranks, with the rank 1 being like the newest recruits, which I think you become a recruit somewhere between like 15 or 16 years old, something like that. You become a recruit, and you have to serve until you're at least 30 years old. A lot of people will continue serving after that. During that time frame, you will gain ranks based off of the merit of your character's activity and whether or not your superior officer thinks you're worth a promotion. Important thing to note: if you ever act in with your responsibilities, if you ever act so poorly, if you do such a bad job that you literally have to get demoted, you are not disparaged that much. You were demoted, and of course, there's a frowning and a small slap on the wrist. But the person that actually gets the most disparaging, like the most kind of like recourse for your demotion, is the person who promoted you in the first place, because clearly they don't know what they're doing if they put you into a position that you weren't ready to handle yet. So there's a lot of like responsibility to not just do well within your own job, but also to impact. Sorry, my brain's not working. But also to make sure you only choose the best people for the job as you move forward. Anyways, so it's 27 ranks. The way that ranks work is it's not like U.S. military where like you pull rank constantly. There's just this basic understanding of who's in charge, you listen to them and you respect them, and who's beneath you, you give them guidance and leadership without, commanding over them, right? There's this just like two-way kind of respect that always happens. Even within equal rank, let's say Tesh and Anno's characters are both ranked 6 for an argument's sake. Within equal rank, eventually over the course of the first or second conversation they have with one another, they would, through telling of stories over past experiences and whatnot, come within that rank over who is the superior and who is the inferior amongst them, and that would change the dynamic of how they interact with one another. This is ingrained into Taurian society from an early age and just openly accepted. There may be feuds between people, but respect is so deeply driven into their extremely lawful society. That doesn't mean you can't be an ass and make your jokes and so on and so forth. Obviously you can. If you've played the video games, you know people do it all the time. But there is a certain decorum to how it is you do that and the way you talk about others and so on and so forth. Garrus may talk shit about the Primarch, but at the same time, he deeply respects the Primarch and will do whatever is asked of him. And the last thing to mention about Taurians, while it is your responsibility as somebody giving command to do everything that is the best possible for the greater Taurian society and those under your command, every Taurian is willing to lay down the ultimate sacrifice for their people. It's the highest honor. For those that are religious, it is how you move in almost like a Valhalla kind of like mentality, right? So to die for the service of your people is the ultimate sacrifice. It is what you wish to have as like a death. That or, very old, having served your people very well and living a happy life, right? But one or the other. but like dying because of a poison or randomly like choking on a chicken bone. You know. Anyways, cool. Any other questions or anything before we get into this?
I think that's it.
Cool. Jake has been quiet this whole time. I'm going to specifically bring it to Jake. Anything that you want to go over, Mr. Jake Boy?
Well, I think I'm just gonna learn as we go, rules wise. But yeah, nothing for the other stuff.
All right, cool. So what I would say is that you guys are going to had it established in advance that none of the characters knew each other coming into this. You all got kind of like pulled from your own different reasons to come here. Did anybody see that they were serving on the cruiser class ship prior, or no?
I don't think we'd discussed that too much.
Yeah, I don't remember that. So
that is perfectly fine. So just really quickly, did anybody want to be from this cruiser class ship in advance, or no?
I can, because
absolutely don't have to.
With
Go ahead.
pilot background, I think that works with I'm a pilot for a ship, or for like fighter or something on this ship, on the cruiser.
Sure, not a problem. So the cruiser class ship that you were on was a THS Daelric, which I'm gonna put here you go. Oop, I'm spelling it wrong. There we go. The THS Daelric, it's actually going to be on your THS Naya's like bio area. So you can see it kind of like written there, so you know what the heck I'm talking about. So THS Daelric is the name of the cruiser ship. So and the THS Naya, the one that the sheet that you guys have access to, that's going to be the smaller ship that is going to be in question for most of the campaign. All right. So all of your characters were called or transferred or previously serving onto the THS Daelric. The THS Daelric is a light cruiser class Taurian vessel that is kind of serves around in the Taurian military, that is known for kind of going along the rims of Taurian space, or I should say of Citadel space. For those of you that aren't familiar, the Taurians are, as a species, kind of act as the military arm of the Citadel. The Citadel, if you're not familiar with Mass Effect, is the combination of all advanced or starfaring races that have chosen to join together at a location, an actual space station called the Citadel, to work together towards a more utopian and hand-in-hand style society stretching across the Milky Way. There are a myriad of races that exists there, but the four most noteworthy races are the Asari, who were the first ones to discover the Citadel Station and established it as their kind of like base of this galactic society. Secondarily being the Solarians, as brilliant and short-lived as these very fast-minded creatures are, they are also on the Citadel Council, those that rule over the different Citadel species and worlds. And finally, the Taurians, which joins last and are the military arm, as previously stated. Think of it as kind of like society, scientific development, and military are effectively how that breaks down, even though that's not truly how it breaks down. That's an easy overview. The fourth race worth noting are the Volus. Volus are very squat as a species. They can't breathe the same kind of air as many others, so they have little breathing masks on them, and they speak much like Bane from the Batman series. Yes. Batman. Anyways, so the Volus are important because they are not a very warlike species. They lack certain mindsets that make them good for war, good as soldiers, so on and so forth, both physically and just how their minds work when it comes to scientific development. So they run the banks. They are the banking backbone of the greater Citadel space, and some would argue should be among the Citadel Council races. The Volus and the Taurians have a unique relationship with one another, whereas like the Taurians, more than just being the Citadel's military, specifically are also the Volus race's military as well, and in exchange, they handle all financial aspects of the Taurians, because the Taurians are so minded. Their minds work in such a way that's so lawfully minded that they can't navigate through the nuances of backdoor dealership dealings and kind of like underhanded approaches to conversation and whatnot, the same way that other races' minds do. So Volus handle a lot of their kind of like diplomatic stuff. If diplomacy isn't done with a gun, the Volus kind of deal with it for them. That's why I'm bringing them up as a species. Cool. So anyways, Citadel space, the THS Daelric kind of like runs along the rim of it, checking things out. So Tesh, your characters had the opportunity to see some truly unique things as you've traveled through your time here on this vessel. Sometimes you get to go onto the observation deck and you can see, off in the distance, because the observation deck will have areas where you can literally kind of like tap the screen and it will zoom into great distances with, filters and whatnot to make it safe to look at. Almost imagine like a moving telescope with like a VI that will scan and allow you to view on things that you want to, kind of tracking it as you move. Things like, pulsars, you'll be able to see things like, magnetars or the forming of twin stars, stuff like that, like truly beautiful, majestic things that others could only see like little vid displays of. Yeah. And it'd be super cool to check out. The THS Talus also has, several different types of fighters that will, fly around it and keep it safe, because cruise ships aren't the best for small scale combat. They're the best for transporting or major ship-to-ship style combat. But one of the other cool things about the THS Talus, one of the reasons why it goes along the outer rim areas of the Citadel space, is because it has a scientific arm as well, a scientific wing. When there's a new deployment of, say, a type of satellites into a different area, or maybe the testing of a new type of ship, this is the vessel that will bring it from A to B, allow it to do its mission, and then kind of like come back and pick it up afterwards. So seeing new hull designs is something that sometimes you get to do, but also at other points in time, there are whole, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a whole docking station. What's the word I'm looking for? Docking bay, where ships might land into that you would have no access to. So we discussed rank beforehand. I think we just threw out random numbers because unfortunately beyond ranks 1, 2, 3, I think 4 and 27, we don't know what they mean in the Taurian military. So we were saying, just for simplicity, Jake was a 9. And I think we were saying you were an 8 and you were a 7 and Anna was a 6. Is that what we were going with? Or is it the other way around?
I think it might have been the other way around.
So Anna's a 7, you're a 6, and Jake's a 9. Sound correct?
Definitely Jake's the 9, yeah. I remember that much. That
Cool.
works for me. That works for character and everything.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And in case anybody's questioning what that means, Jake just has to let his hair down and you'll agree he's a 9. So anyways, the THS Talus does these kind of extra missions as well, which are going to, of course, be secretive. And because of the nature of who the Taurians are, if a bay is secretive, if something is locked files, so on and so forth, 99.99% of Taurians are not going to be even curious enough to be like, I wonder what's inside those files. I want to open them up and check them out. But of course, you do have that, 0.01% that would question that, and an even smaller percentage that might actually go and investigate such things. I imagine none of your characters would, and only one of you were here prior anyways. Moving on. The other 2 of your characters would have been picked up from where it was that you were serving prior. Maybe you were coming off of leave. Maybe you were serving inside of another vessel. Maybe you were on a colony or planet side. I don't really care. Not at this moment. You can kind of like bring that in backstory as you're playing as your characters. But you were transferred to the THS Talus either because it was inside of your system, or a shuttle did an FTL jump, or I say a mass relay jump, and FTL traveled to this, and you were kind of dumped off as part of a supply run or whatever it might be, right? And so eventually you find your way onto the ship. On the ship, you of course have basic quarters with one another. Everything is made to be very, very efficient. So for the sake of quarters, You can imagine that you have none of your characters are officers to the point where it's worth noting. You're so low down in the totem pole that you can imagine Tesh and Ano, your characters are going to be in 4-man quarters, which means that 8 Torian will use it between their shifts. So half of the day it belongs to 4 Torian, half of the day it belongs to 4 other Torian, allowing 8 people to share one room with small bunks and small storage that would happen to exist inside there. The way that your storage would work is that your bunk, literally the wall itself, it kind of like flaps against the wall and then opens up and has storage on the inside. Or when the storage is closed, the bunk will kind of like flap out the 90 degree so you can climb into it and take your rest there. Cool. They're not overly comfortable. They're not overly uncomfortable. They're just military beds. Jake, yours is very similar, but instead of 4, there's going to be 2 inside of yours because there are less officers that happen to be there, though there are many officers that are well above your rank. So there are 2, meaning 4 people share it. Half the day it belongs to 2 of you. Half the day it belongs to 2 others. Who your bunkmates are, doesn't matter. You're not going to stay on the ship for very long. Your characters are all pulled in with no understanding as to why it is you're put here. Jake, the only thing your character knows is that you're going to be overseeing a scientific mission. Your character is not scientific minded, unlike the other 2. So you're probably scratching your head as to why, and probably have come to the assumption it ain't going to be a safe one. Because if you're being pulled in to look over some science, that means that science is being done in a not safe area, right?
Yeah.
So eventually you guys are kind of, after spending a couple of days on the THS Talus, or months in your case, Tesh, eventually you're given orders to go in where you're going to meet with the commanding officer that happens to be there, the higher rank that happens to be here, not of the whole vessel, but of what it is that you're looked after. It's important to note that a cruiser will have hundreds of Torians serving on it. Hundreds of Torians serving on it, not just like a small handful or a couple of dozen or anything like that. Hundreds. So there are many faces. There are many faces you will be familiar with, many that you won't be familiar with, and every single solitary goddamn one of them has face markings. As a reminder, face markings means you're part of the hierarchy. See a Torian without face markings? Don't trust that son of a bitch. That's straight up anarchy. They're gonna be coming. Do you know how I got these scars? Like, whoa. Moving on. Bringing it in. All of your characters will get eventually find yourself into like a small little waiting room. You can imagine where you're going to be going to like an actual meeting chamber to meet with whoever it's going to be. These meeting chambers are going to be put inside like interior rooms. So rooms that don't have any form of external view or whatnot. Interior rooms are going to have all sorts of, you can imagine, security features put inside them, maybe closed loop systems, so on and so forth. So even if somebody on the ship was trying to spy on what's talked about inside there, or somebody off the ship was able to hack into the ship and spy on, nobody would be able to really access what goes off in these small pocket rooms for quiet meetings. Again, Turians, very military minded and very, very, very defensive minded. They would have built this kind of thing forever ago using Solarian technology. So you'd be waiting inside of like a waiting chamber just outside of one of these meeting rooms. Inside of this waiting chamber, you would have, I don't care what order your characters walk in. Feel free to roll a d20 and go from highest to lowest. That's fine. Inside this waiting chamber, you would have a rank 3, or rank 4, sorry, Torian soldier standing there. They're clearly the one that's kind of like on guard duty, standing there, just waiting in case people come and go, just to make sure that nothing bad happens or what have you. So they just happen to be standing there as your 3 characters go in. It is perfectly normal to communicate with one another, but the 3 of your characters are the ones that are sitting there and waiting for your meeting. Again, important to note, Torians are so military and time-minded that your character would have showed up early for this because you're on your cruise ship, right? At least for this first encounter, you'll show up early, because if your meeting is set to start at 7:15 in the morning, it'll start at 7:15 in the morning. Meaning, in theory, your character could have showed up at 7:14 and 49 seconds, and before you even sat down, you'd be called into the room, and you know that for a fact. So if your character is the kind of person that runs that running late, not this time. This time you happen to be early for whatever reason. Okay? Cool. So the first person to show up was going to be Jake's character, which makes sense because of his rank. Oh, okay, this actually follows rank order. Second one would be Anno's character, and the last one would be Tesh's character. This gives you guys a couple of minutes to kind of like sit there and get to know one another. I'm going to throw it to you to describe yourselves. So we can kind of like hear what your characters look like and move forward from there. We'll go in that order. Jake, as Anno's character comes walking in, he's going to see your character either standing or sitting there, describe what you're doing in this very simple room with very simple but comfortable chairs outside of the actual meeting chamber. Describe what he's doing and what he looks like.
Give me a second.
I have to pull that up real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I also should
Maybe
note while
let's
he's
just get
looking
Anno
at
to go first here quickly.
Okay, cool.
Because
So,
I haven't
well,
got
I'll
anything written down.
I'll give you a second too. One of the things I do want to point out is on this ship, because G's are always in reference to one Earth gravity. So what you experience as a human IRL, real life, that's 1G, right? So because of the way that Taurians work, their own home world, which is Palaven, is a 1.14 G. That's normal. Even though they have different worlds that kind of expands left and right. This ship will hold its comfortable gravity at 1.1 G. So if you're from Palaven or a heavier world, this feels, as Palaven, you probably don't even notice the difference. If you're from a heavier world, this feels lighter to you. If you're from a lighter world, this being on the ship feels a bit heavier. You feel a bit weighed down, even though you've only been here for a couple of days. So because you've only been here for a couple of days, it would feel a bit off to you. Tesh, your character is probably accustomed to it, though it's still not right to you. It's like off. Okay.
You need to like do stretches every now and then to just sort of like even things out again.
Yeah. So it's a 1.1 Gs is what the ship is kind of maintained at. Anno, Jake asked it as your character walks in, describe what he sees walking in, and then he will describe what you see sitting down.
Okay. Well, very simply put, let's see. He's about 2 meters 1. So I think that in American units, that's like 6'6" or something like that. I don't know. Also, my Roll20 decided to freeze up. Give me a moment. I think, is my internet screwing up?
It's 6.8 feet.
Yeah.
6.8889 feet. So that's pretty tall.
I mean, I think it's pretty normal for Turians,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, for
They
Taurians.
start
Yep.
at 6 feet, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a bit taller of a Taurian, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. So otherwise, he has. I mean, he doesn't look very physically imposing. So like more of a lean figure instead of like a very imposing one. One of the more notable feature would be, of course, his skin color, which is like more of a on the turquoise side of things, and I mean, yeah, typical Turian. Otherwise, I mean, crests and whatnot. Yeah.
Do you have a face paint design, a face tattoos design? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like it would be difficult to describe it.
I
like,
mean,
with
yeah,
words.
that's fine.
But yeah, of course, he would have like a face tattoo that, I mean, I'm not sure. Probably every Turian can immediately understand where the Turian is from, right?
Yeah, I looked it up earlier. So Turians can, like, each colony has its own design,
Yeah.
and they can use that design. They can also use a different one if they want to. It's like some choose to show their pride for the colony and use the colony's design, sort of thing.
Yeah, okay, then I mean, it would be a pretty rare one, just because of the nature of the planet he comes from, which is Gothis.
So the standard Gothis one then?
Yeah, so it will probably be a pretty rare one, because there's very little people from that place to start with. So it would be, yeah, uncommon. Let's just call it like that. Otherwise, I mean, yellow eyes, and oh, and I should mention, of course, he's rather young, like in his 20s, probably. Like you could understand, like mid-20s.
Okay.
All right, what you see sitting at attention is an older Turian, very dark skin tone with red facial markings, the design of Palaven. He is a big Turian. He's sitting down, so you don't know how tall he is, but you get the impression he's rather tall. Well built, and he has quite a few burn marks over his face. Might have been hit by an inferno grenade or something. And one thing you'll probably notice is, as still as he's sitting, his eyes flit up to you, but you can see he's tapping his fingers, and he doesn't stop, and he looks at you and he says, "You for the meeting."
Yeah. Would nod, and also like his face markings would probably be yellow or something, just another detail. And yeah, he seems unscathed so no scars for him, but he nods and says, yes, I'm not sure for what, but I'm here.
Scientific mission, I heard.
Well, I'm sure we will be enlightened shortly. Do you know if there's gonna be anyone aside from us?
Almost
I know
like on
there's
cue.
a scientific mission, but
So
That's about
at that moment, another Turian comes walking in. He's on the shorter side at 6'3", so down the lower end of things. Really deep gray skin, with dark green markings down. He's got not of any colony, so obviously chosen to deliberately be not a colony's one. He's got it down the front of his face and down his mandibles. And he's stocky. He's not lanky, but he's definitely not like buff. And he just sort of wanders in, a little bit of light step for his build. Just, is this the right place?
I believe
I hope
so.
so.
Briefing? Perfect. And he just like goes and takes a seat a little too casually.
Very well. And then I would go to take a seat as well. Probably, yeah. Just waiting.
He'll probably actually pull out, CS will probably pull out his Omni tool and start fiddling with something.
Is there any more noteworthy conversation between the characters at this point, or is this where it kind of like falls into a bit quieter?
I mean, it's more.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say one more detail. He's got bright yellow eyes. The comparison to his like dark coloring and dark paint tattoo.
I mean, no. He would stay quiet, mostly because he's afraid that maybe people are mistakenly here, so he doesn't want to give anything away. So yeah, just waiting in a disciplined fashion.
Okay.
I'll add one more little note to CS is his uniform, his like armor that he's wearing is obviously a little bit customized based on being there a little longer, and it's definitely looked like it's moved, like things are moved in such a way that he'd be able to sit down and have a lot of freedom of movement in a seat. So you can probably guess pilot from that.
You can also tell, certain details based off of like, say the markings that people have, armor. You guys probably wouldn't even be in your armor at this point because you're on your ship, right? Like the armors that you wear, those get put on for deployments. So you wouldn't be wearing those powered suit armors and all that stuff while you're here. You'd want to have them repaired, maintained, so on and so forth. And when we say repaired, maintained, obviously your characters have your issued suit of armor. It is yours. You wearing it. Like, this is my rifle. This is my bum. You know, so you would... but for those of you that are following in chat and care to look over the N7 website that was given to you, they're all wearing basic sets of what their character classes wear. So I think it's light or medium. I don't think anybody even has heavy armor. Maybe Jake's character does, but either way,
we basically have to start with medium armor.
Yeah, medium is what I got.
Yep. And so it's all basic sets. So I think you all have basic medium armor, and specifically the way armor's done is it's piecemeal. You can put different pieces together to build out whatever. We just gave him literally as a set, so it's like a you can't take pieces off of it. It has to be worn together or not worn together. Worn together or not worn. So if they wanted to build another set, they can worry about that on the side. All right, moving on.
Well, technically you can wear it differently, but if it would have any bonuses, you wouldn't get them anymore.
Yeah, the set bonuses, correct. All right, moving
but
on.
This one, yeah, whatever.
No, you're good. You're good. So you're where was I? Oh yeah. So you're going into so eventually, like, the time comes, and again, because of like how stringent things are, things don't generally run very late. So at the time that your meeting is meant to happen, maybe a minute prior, the door would open up and you would see a couple of officers go walking out. Now, for the sake of understanding what this is, I believe skills are almost exactly the same here as they are in everything else. You have science and whatnot. But for this one, I'm going to have you roll history.
First roll of the campaign.
Nice. I don't think
That
we
works.
decided
I'm on
about
the ship already, sir.
I don't think we decided about fumbles and crits for this campaign. If you guys wanted to do that sort of a thing, wanted to avoid it or not.
I don't mind having it. If people don't want it, then I'm fine either way. I would lean towards having them.
Okay,
So
if you lean
again-
towards having them, then I'm up for having them. Because I have zero opinion. I played with both and enjoy both.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because just as a reminder for those of you that aren't familiar with 5e's rules or any D&D's rules, natty 20s, natty 1s only matter for saving throws, attack rolls, and death saves. That's it. No other time do natty 1s and 20s matter.
Rules is written, yeah.
Rules as written. However, I always allow my PCs to vote if they want natty 20s to mean an extra good thing and natty 1s to mean an extra bad thing. That is up to them. It sounds like we have 2 out of 3 saying yeah. Jake, what do we get from you? Is it a yeah, no, or no, yeah?
I'm outvoted, so.
Oh, so you stand in opposition.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you want to make an argument to try to convince them one way or the other?
As someone that plays both, you will regret it.
I mean, I play Patreon with Scott, and usually on Patreon, Scott rolls very well. So on Patreon, I always say no, but on stream, he always rolls bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna switch it to a definite yeah. I think, given that it's a shorter campaign, I think let's go for yeah and enjoy the chaos.
It's an air quote shorter. We have no idea how long the
Air
campaign
quotes
is.
shorter, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry. If
Not a 2-year campaign.
Don't worry. If I want to go longer, I will just go to England and kneecap Neil. So
he got his last bout of chemo last week or whatever it was, and his procedure is not like when you have cancer where they like trickle drip you over the course of months. They more or less give you like
nuke.
Yeah, they like nuke your body like 3 different times and absolutely destroy every part of who you are, and then you become Bubble Boy for a little while and whatnot. And you know what the worst part is? You want to hear some bullshit? Want to hear some serious bullshit? That motherfucker is having his body utterly nuked, and he's so sexy, he's not losing hair. He's growing a beard. It's like
it's
like he's evolving.
That he's developing.
No, he's legit evolving. Yeah, this is what happens when you nuke an English body. They become Canadian. Like he can actually grow a beard now. Like,
That's
Oh.
amazing.
yeah, I'm like, how? How is this possible? He's like, just better.
He's just gonna come back and he's gonna be like 6'5", like he's not gonna fit in his camera with all the muscle he has.
Full on lumberjack.
It's like mid chemotherapy, I got bit by a cockroach. And now I'm Roach Man. It's like, grows a carapace, runs really fast on 2 legs.
That's terrifying.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. All right. So, anyways,
What do I get
reverse
for a
American
20?
Werewolf in London. What's up?
What do I get for a 20 then?
So yeah, your characters, the other two are going to be able to quickly identify that the other people walking out are also higher ranking officials, but specifically of like the scientific or engineering division of the Taurian hierarchy. So you're able to pick that up really quickly. Tesh, you're able to pick up that not only have you seen one of the officers who happens to be at a pretty decent rank, we're talking like rank like 16, walking out of that room. They've actually been here on the the Talic for several months now. At one point in time, a ship was picked up and was used for multiple missions on the Talic. There are times where, like, say, the observation deck isn't available, or the so on and so forth. And so you know that, like, okay, well, there are times where just like different tests are being done. You don't think too much of it, and or maybe you're not even aware that there's a test being done. So on and so forth. But the fact that this person's kind of walking out of here, it kind of like you're putting all the rumors that you've heard together with who you've seen here, how many times you've seen them, the small interaction that you had with them one time down in like the grub area, the cafeteria area. You're kind of putting it together and realizing, okay, whatever it is that we're being pulled in for, if it has anything relation to the people that just walked out of that room, then we are now going to be part of a test having to do with a new ship design that happens to exist.
Oh.
Which is
He would light up. You would very much see him full, like, as he notices them walk out, he's lit up and excited.
how do like they don't smile. Like,
They,
how do you see Taurian
the
excitement?
mandible movement.
They quiver?
Is a big one.
Just
Probably
just-
probably open. I imagine would be, like excited,
just chittering,
cheering. Yeah.
like from like the velociraptors from Jurassic Park.
No.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. All right. Yeah. It's not exactly like they have lips, right? Anyways,
It's all in the mandible expression.
so hey, Tesh, your character's feeling lighter than air. Fun fact: he's from a world that's 1.5G. So to him, this place is. He's like he can eat a lot while he's here and feel like really like I feel light.
This is nice. This is nice. Goes home. Oh God.
Imagine it's like imagine going back for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. I've made a mistake.
Anyways, what was I saying? So obviously your character being a pilot, it is very, very exciting for you. Putting this kind of like 2 and 2 together of what's going on there. And now you're kind of like running through your minds like, okay, what kind of ships did I see coming and going? So on and so forth. There was that really unique fighter design that happened to exist there. And I'm not exactly a fighter pilot, but hey, I'll give something a try. Kind of like going through your mind, all the different things that it could potentially be going inside of it. So you have an expectation going into this meeting. And so therefore less of a surprise, whereas the other two do not. So for that, Tesh, I'll give you a advantage for you to use going into this meeting.
Inspiration.
Inspiration, thank you. Going into this meeting. So after that, the final person walks out, and you can see the commanding officer gives a nod for you guys to come in. So similarly, this person that you're walking into the meeting with, they're going to be like a rank 15. So probably like 1 rank or 2 ranks beneath the officer that just walked out that you were able to identify, Tesh, and everybody was able to see. The officer that's in here, her name is Patana Fallis. So I can copy and paste that for you if it makes it easier. And let me give you guys a handout for you to keep track of details in. I don't think I gave you one yet. I did not. Let's do a handout. It's going to go POI for persons of interest. Access to all of you.
Your dirty mind, that's called.
Why?
Oh no, I can't unsee it.
I'm just gonna write this in chat.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh no, it was removed.
Oh, why didn't it work?
Is it?
Down?
I don't know.
No, it's Isaac. It's Isaac's not true.
Oh yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I
There it
don't.
is, yeah.
I don't get it. What did I do?
Follows.
Oh.
Oh my god. There it is. I was gonna say, if you don't get it there.
In Latin, it means chode. So this is our chode of this campaign. Thank you, Scott.
Oh, I love that Scott somehow managed to get this far without even remotely clocking that.
Good old Pat Phallus, eh?
All right. Well, if you can't beat him, join him.
Pet fellas.
So you're
that's
your commanding officer that you're going in here to meet with, somebody that, again, Tess, your character may have encountered before him, but there's so many officers on a ship of this size. By no means do you know who all of them are, or have you interacted with all of them, or so on and so forth, especially if this is one that's handling more secretive missions and you weren't a part of any of them prior. So that being said, she's relatively short for a Turian. She stands at about like a 5'11", because apparently 5'11" is very short. So she's a 5'11", kind of a thicker Turian. Turians tend to be very, very slender. They're an avian-based race whose skin is thicker because of what the Palavin's world is made out of. Has it's almost like a carapace that they have for their outer skin or shell, if you will, that helps to reflect a lot of the natural radiation that pours in from their powerful sun on their kind of sparsely atmosphered planet. So that being said, she's a short 5'11", kind of a thicker one. It's, whatever the rank might be. So again, rank 15, you can imagine it being like a colonel or what have you. Phallus is her name. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's the best reference one could make.
It's just so good that it was completely unintentional as well.
And also, you described them as short with a thick
Yes, I know.
skin. Okay.
Yep, I know. Yep,
Okay.
fully aware. As a matter of fact, not only is she a short 5'11",
Okay. Here it comes.
at one point in time, because she used to be active in the frontline soldier long before she earned her rank here, bit of a history that's known, is at one point in time, she actually, someone in a melee combat attempted to slit her throat, and she was able to survive. Metagel was applied, so on and so forth. But she does have a very cut area of the flesh around her neck. So
I realized what you were doing too late.
Listen, you wanted it, you got it. Okay.
No, you did this. You did
this
this
is
all.
all you.
No, it's not me. I got a name. The worst part is Turian names are very, very Latin based. So it's just all right. Here's
I imagine the first human general meeting them, just trying not to laugh.
Right? It's just a bunch of Italians in the room, just
I mean,
Northern Italians, of course. Southern Italians don't speak Latin. So,
yeah, because phallus is such an unknown word in the English language.
Yeah, but I figure most Southern Italians can't even form a sentence. You know what I mean? They struggle with basic concepts.
Let's
all right. Let's sit
Only
there
we
without-
can shit on each other. You're not allowed.
Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm from Boston. All we do is shit on Italians. Okay, so, but not real Italians, American Italians, right? So, the bobbity boopity bobbity. Moving on. So, where was I? So you guys are it's kind of like you get that look to follow into the room. When you guys go following in, you're gonna go into the meeting room. So how the meeting room is set up, this is a Torian style meeting room that's set up. If you've played the Mass Effect games, you might be familiar with this kind of setup over on the Normandy, because again, that was a Torian influenced vessel. So you guys go into the room is going to be seats. They're sitting in a mostly circle. So the way that it works is there are the seats will sit in a mostly circle, taking up like 80% of what would be the circumference of a circle, leaving the last part open for like a view screen against the wall for pertinent details to be revealed. Right? So that allows everybody to see it as equals, because when you're being educated, so when you're being briefed and debriefed, rank does not matter. Information is equal across the board, which is one of the mentalities of why it's arranged this way, right? So when you go in, where you sit does not matter. It's literally just kind of like grab a seat that's comfortable next to each other, sparsed out, doesn't matter. When you go in, you will see that there is another person that happens to be inside of here. Strangely enough, considering all the details that you've put together, Tesh, and what the other two were able to do to a degree, there's a Quarian sitting inside of there. Now, Quarians, in case you aren't familiar, is the picture that you're going to see in the bottom right-hand corner of this thing. Quarians are another race in the another Citadel race in the Mass Effect universe. They're another bipedal humanoid. They have a different number of like digits, so different number of toes and whatnot. Their legs are designed a little bit differently, almost like a goat style, which I believe Torians are as well. So I have that kind of like reverse knee style.
It's called digitigrade.
Digigrade. Digitigrade.
Digitigrade. Thank you. I know that too. I'm like digitigrade style leg. That's there. I think them two and Solarians have that. What's up?
Yeah, I believe they're also dextro amino.
Yes, they're the other dextro amino based race. Yeah, so the two of them can share cuisine without dying, or at the very sick, at least getting very sick. So, moving on. So you see that there's a Quarian sitting there. For the characters that are, I'll leave this to your characters to whether you can put two and two together. Differentiating between male and female Quarian is usually shown by like, not just the shape of their body, so therefore their armor, but also the style of clothing and whatnot that they wear. So the style of like the headdress that their characters happen to wear, whether or not they're wearing a headdress, the patterns that are on it, so on and so forth. So if your character has any interactions with Quarians in the past, which likely you have, you would know this is a female Quarian that happens to be sitting there. Yay. Anyways, so you come walking in with the with the officer that's kind of overseeing things. This is going to be, Colonel Phallus. And you can see that the Quarian's sitting there. You guys take your seats and kind of like spread around. Jumping into it, Phallus says, thank you for joining me for this meeting. Let's not waste any time. All of you were called to the Daelric, specifically to oversee a secret scientific mission. I'm going to have you overseeing the latest design of a ship that is being worked on. This is the first of its style, a technology originally developed by the Quarians long ago, but unfortunately they have failed to make it successful. In utilizing some of the assistance of the Quarians, we have been able to make a fully functional and successful runs with this new ship design up until this point. Now, the ship that you're going to be flying is, and they click like a button, and what pops up on screen is going to be the view of the ship itself. Now, this is where you guys can pop into Discord and see the image of the ship in question. I'm going to actually throw this inside of chat for anybody who cares to open the image here. But I'm also going to try to pop this image onto the overlay as well for a quick moment. And
Very pretty
immediately
ship.
in seeing this, Tesh, your character would be almost deflated because you're hearing new ship design, but this is a ship design that's existed for, at this point in time, I want to say like 12 years, because we're in 2152, I think. I just want to show everybody what the ship looks like for Havatic here. Give chat a moment to absorb it before I continue. And 2157. So this ship design has actually existed for 15 years. So 15 years ago, it would have been exciting to fly the ship. At this point in time, you've already done like probably dozens of simulations of it and so on. But that's it. It's a shuttle design in short. So when you see this, I can imagine your character's almost immediately deflated from seeing it.
Like, damn it.
Yeah. You can see the design as it pops up. So then they say this is a Turian Hyrix class shuttlecraft. Now, as I've said, this is a new design, or at least a new technology that is being worked on. So we have taken the latest model of the Turian Hyrix shuttlecraft, and we have retrofitted it to include this new technology. Allow me to get down to the details. They click a button, and they click a button on the ship, on the display to allow it kind of like the thing to go out, and the schematics to kind of like spread out and show off, and so on and so forth. At this point in time, your character, for understanding what this is, you're going to want to go ahead and roll a science to even put 2 and 2 together before it's said. Because if you're able to guess what it is, you're welcome to speak up and say, like, interruption is not necessarily a bad thing. Tesh, you're welcome to use your advantage here if you wanted to.
I was about to say I'm going to use my advantage here because he's looking for anything to make this interesting again. Oh, I'm glad I used it because there's a 1. I didn't roll well, but I took a 1.
2 natty 1s? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And Jake, you can go ahead and roll science. It'd be funny if you rolled like a natty 20 and you're the one that figures it out.
You know, the funny thing is, Turians actually eat rocks for digestion. So just sitting there eating rocks.
Munch.
I mean, that's just to help with digestion. They obviously eat organic matter as well. All right, cool.
No,
So none of you guys.
Sorry, Scott. It's just Zoomer talk for basically sitting there stupidly eating rocks.
It's like a silence as she brings it up, and you just hear.
So none of you guys are able to put it together except for Valavius. Valavius is going to be able to completely understand what this is. You, of course, know what it is, right? What is it, Valavius?
Oh, no.
It's a ship.
Well, your character knows what it is. You succeeded. I didn't vote for it.
What'll be really fucking
The
funny
thing is,
if
I
guess
could-
is right.
Yeah, I couldn't even guess right. That's the issue.
That'd be awesome.
Guess
Hey.
something. Yeah, guess a ship system. Something.
I mean, I did. I mean, even if I was right, I wasn't planning to talk out loud because he's more like passive at this.
That's fine. Now I want to know what your guess is.
Probably would say, I mean, small ship. I mean, not for combat, that's for sure. So, like a deep reconnaissance vessel or something like that.
Sure. Deep reconnaissance vessel. So obviously, a character kind of keeps it to yourself. So
Yeah.
they click the button or whatever. You can see like the thing shows up and it shows a schematic of the ship. So it shows like the ship as a whole from like multiple different angles, like translucent in different ways. The arrows pointing to it, a whole bunch of stuff written in Taurian. Typical kind of schematic stuff. If you're a Star Wars nerd and you look at the Star Wars breakdowns of ships, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so shows all these details. Sorry, that was my VP just asking me for something, so I'll have to send it to him today. I have to get the Hems probably in the next hour. So at some point in time, we'll take a break so I can send him an email. So yeah, you would see kind of like these details, kind of like, spread out up there. And then eventually she would look to the Quarian, who would stand up, and the Quarian would go over and would start pointing at the different parts of the ship and would say to you in the Quarian voice, we should use voice mod to get like Quarian and Taurian voices. But anyways, says to you that starts saying this ship has been modified with a type of technology that we've been working on for some years now. The way that ship-to-ship detection happens to work isn't simply through isn't by looking through a viewing glass. For any of you who have spent a considerable amount of time on the bridge, or if you paid attention back in your original training as you joined into the military, you would know that we use all different types of sensors and arrays. So whether it be a type of LiDAR for pinging off of vessels and collecting the light as it returns, though that can be a little bit slower. We usually look for quicker detection emissions that come off of vessels, in which case it would be infrared traveling the fastest and easiest to find, so heat signatures. The ship design that was put together here, the entire outer hull had to be removed with a new skin slightly broader put onto it. The skin is designed in such a way that it can reflect or bounce off, not reflect, but absorb or deflect in different angles certain types of detection arrays that would go towards the ship. Moreover, it can hide inside of a well on the outer skin of the ship. It can hide inside of a well the various heats that the ship is putting out, making it so that the heat signature of the ship is significantly lower and to less sensitive equipment effectively invisible. This allows you to go into areas where there might be heavy oversight or detection without necessarily being able to be noticed. Now, it is important to note that this is the first ship that was able to successfully show this kind of technology. And we've been able to fly this through a few different Citadel space areas in an attempt to see if it has been detected. Only across the most sensitive of equipment was it even able to be detected the slightest. And at that point in time, it was actually detected to be a small asteroid, something significantly smaller than its actual size. And so it was overlooked and is not reacted upon other than reporting it in case of potential collision and categorizing of knowing where, what are they called? There's a specific word for it, but like outer space objects that are always tracked around like planets or whatever. Can't remember the phrasing.
Asteroid defense. I know what you mean, but it's basically an asteroid defense system. Like
more or less tracking all that stuff. Yeah. But either way, whatever it is. So moving on, she continues saying it was logged as being that. So effectively undetected for what the vessel was. The mission that we're going to be going on, that I personally will be going on as well, will be one that actually puts the ship for the first time in harm's way for the sake of discovering important information. This is going to be the first time we're fully testing the vessel and its capabilities of staying hidden while going into a dangerous territory. Do we have any questions?
It is a deep reconnaissance vessel.
Which you didn't say out loud because you said you weren't going to.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
She nods and says, to a degree, yes. However, because we are making it so that the shuttle can transport, because we are making it so that the shuttle had the space on it and didn't fry the systems in these usages, different things had to be removed from it. Typically speaking, a Hyrix class vessel, shuttlecraft, has the ability to do FTL jumps. Has the ability to do mass relay jumps. This one is not able to do mass relay jumps, and moreover, its FTL drive is a bit slower than other vessels. So while yes, it is deep reconnaissance, it is important to note that prior to going into a dangerous terrain, it needs to be landed in a safe distance and is completely cooled first. All heat run out of it to allow it the opportunity to then make its attempt into the dangerous space for the reconnaissance that it does. And then it's important to note that it can only maintain this hidden state for a very short period of time. So you're going to have to, or we are going to have to find locations that allow it to eject its heat while not being able to be noticed. All of these details have been plotted out in advance and will be given to you as needed moving forward. Any questions about the technology that this ship offers?
How does it affect the maneuverability of the ship? Is there any restrictions on that front when it's running dark?
She nods and says, I'm not particularly familiar with, and looks over towards the Taurian commander, because this is a Quarian. I'm probably a scientist to a degree, not a pilot or a military person, right?
Yeah.
And so the other one will look at you and say, pertinent question, Novik. The maneuverability of the ship is perfectly intact. You can expect the handling to function exactly as you would see fit. I believe you have not flown Hyrix ship in the past, but looking over your looking over your profile, I can see that you've logged in a considerable amount of time over the various different models of the Hyrix class space shuttle in training.
Correct.
So while the maneuverability will still be intact, while the handling will still be fully accessible, allowing you to do the maneuvers that you would need to, this is not going to fly like any particular class of ship. One of the reasons why you were pulled in is because this is going to be an amalgamation of different classes or different versions of that vessel. This will give you a degree of experience without falling into the comfort zones that someone who has flown that ship for some years now might have.
Huh. Okay.
Well, we determined that the ship has to be not hot to be stealthy, but what are the electronic capabilities of the ship? I assume if it is supposed to be running dark, it gives, I don't know, what are the arrays, what are the equipment and such, even for defense and attack, but overall.
The commander will continue to speak and will give because at this point in time, like the Quarian's gonna like step aside because you're asking questions that are more military based. So the Taurian will continue to answer, and she will say, while you were running hot, while you were keeping it quiet, at that point in time, your AWS, I think that's what it is, or AWS, right?
Yes.
Your AWS will be effectively shut down. Any additional systems that will allow for the generation of heat for the use of power will be shut down. So your basic, the hull of the vessel, as previously stated, will allow for the deflection or absorption of different ways of being detected. And there'll be but any small hums or otherwise defensive systems will need to be shut down, as those themselves will either give off additional heat or can be detected with different types of surveillance suites that exist. That goes to the weapon systems as well. Weapon systems will completely be shut down, and even your scanning devices will be effectively shut down, relying on the most simplistic planetary scans will exist, and basic lensing scans, so utilizing of cameras and LiDAR, those will exist. But beyond that, you will have none.
So effectively, it will be a barge when it runs silent.
She will look at you and say, "You're throwing a brick." 2157.
Oh, 57?
Yes.
Okay, so 17 years after the Hyrix is normally was commissioned.
I think, yeah, 17, yeah. 2057. March, technically, if you're using human years, months. Sorry, continue, Arno.
No, I mean, yeah, that was just a statement he did.
Okay.
Nothing more to add to that.
Okay. Does Jake or Tesha's characters have any more questions?
Probably, I think he's probably just transfixed on the designs.
Yeah, all I say is so just the standard weaponry though for the Horus class.
Um, the uh, Torian will respond saying, yes, it has your basic guardian array to give you defensive measures as needed. There is no space on the ship or additional draw that can be diverted towards additional attack capabilities. So you have your defensive capabilities, and that is all.
What's her
Oh.
name?
You ask, what's her name?
Yeah.
Um,
He would care about that.
I was just trying to. There it is. The THS Naya. But you guys have that handout.
Yeah.
One last question then. This is, of course, been refitted for a specific purpose, which I am sure will be told shortly. But what are the facilities on the ship? Just is it med bay and such? Everything a crew requires?
The Torian says, yes, but because of the compact size and the fact that it had to be retrofitted with wells to hold the heat inside of, that does mean that things are going to be a little bit tighter than they usually would be. So for the additional facilities that you're asking about, there is a med bay, but that med bay also shares the same multi-purpose room as the workbench, and so on. You will have only one lavatory to share amongst the group of you, and so on. The living quarters that you're going to have are going to be significantly tighter. So the commanding officer of the ship will not have a separate quarters from the rest, and the others will have their typical rotations. Now, there are others that are going to, of course, be on this mission with the four of you. Are there? One, two, three. Yeah. There is one other that'll be on this mission with the four of you, but they were being kept in the dark as to the final details. They're being kept in the dark as to some of the details that are involved in this mission, and being made aware of other ones involved. And of course, we are throwing additional. Wait, hold on. Am I doing this wrong? No, I'm doing it wrong. They say there are no other organics going on this mission with you. Instead, you are going to be. It is outfitted with a powerful VI suite that will handle other functionality to make sure that we can keep this crew as small as possible to divert as much space as possible towards the systems that are required.
Understood. Not gonna be comfortable, but it will do.
All right, cool. So the if you guys don't have any more questions, then they will continue. Then let's get on to the mission on hand. Some of the more specific details will be given to you as you're approaching your location. Let's get into where this location is. Now, I think we can understand that you can understand because of the secrecy of this mission. Again, there are some details that have to be kept from you until you leave, so there's no chance of there being a leak that happens to other members of the crew prior to your leaving on the mission. Understood?
That goes without saying.
Understood.
Then you should know that the Valak is on its way to the terminus systems right now. Do the PCs know where the terminus systems are?
I would, because of the pilot background.
Cool. But do you, Tesh, know
I-
what the terminus systems are?
Yes. It's like the outer reach is sort of lawless, but outside of council reach, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is going to be the terminus system is what's not Citadel space, more or less.
Okay.
Cool.
Basically, here be pirates, most likely, but not
Yeah,
always,
yeah.
because there's just people who didn't want to be part of the council system.
God damn fucking anarchists.
Batarians, in specific, I believe, are a big
Yep.
one.
Yep. So Batarians are the predominant race that happens to exist inside the Terminus systems. They have their own, we'll call it federation, but like not really, but yeah, but no. It's almost like a warlord style way that it runs over there, and the warlords will get along occasionally, but not always.
It's basically then like China in the 30s.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Early 19th century, 20th century China, or late 19th century. But either way, so so that's kind of like how that works over there. Batarians are a species of people that, whether it be nature or nurture, who cares? They are extremely aggressive, extremely warlike. But honestly, they have extremely sensitive smells. So I imagine most of the reason why they're so angry is because like how bad everything smells to them. Like imagine when they met humans. They fight with humans all the time. Humans are like stinky apes. You know, like why do you wear that much deodorant and perfume? Like, why does everything on your body have stinky stuff on it? It's gross.
Turians might not be too bad because they have the exoskeleton.
Yeah, no. But Taurians are
Taurians
also
would be the best. They're fully contained.
They also are going to race into a fight. So,
yeah, that's
you want to fight? I want to fight. Let's fight. You know. So, anyways, so that's kind of the Batarian area. So they say. What you can know for now is that you're going to be heading into Terminus space. Now, there are going to be several missions that transpire there. But the first one is the first mission that you're going to be going on is one to satisfy.
Before we find out about the mission, can we actually quickly take our break?
Oh, take a break now? Cool. I can write that email to my VP. Awesome. Yeah. It's actually good timing. It's about to be 9 a.m. So perfect. Thank you, Jake. Let's take a quick break. Woohoo! Ignore the overlay. I know it's not Mass Effect related. Leave me alone. Be right back, everybody. Woohoo!